Welcome to the presentation of Newsy Consolidated. It was a tough process, but the board has decided to pursue Usman's shared news platform. This will be presented today by Nathan, Matthew, Dwanet, Julie, and Usman. Newsy is similar to other platforms such as Spotify and Netflix, but for news. It allows users to browse news content from multiple publishers via a subscription model. Looking further into our two key stakeholders, news consumers and publishing partners, we found that consumers were very open to this idea and had no major concerns to address. On the other side of the fence, there were two key concerns raised by publishing partners, the first being impact on existing revenue. We have determined that this concern will be addressed by our rapid growth strategy, which is based on a pricing model to attract a mass audience in the shortest possible time frame. The second concern was around brand impact. We will address this concern by creating multiple low-fidelity minimum viable products of the platform, aiming to preserve each publisher's identity. We are using this method as our main test is visual and not interactive. During the next round of testing, publishers can determine which option will best preserve their brand identity. Now it's over to Nathan to present market type, size, segments, and customer personas.
Thank you, Matthew. Newsy has a potential market of 17.93 million consumers. Around 15.37 million of these consumers view the news digitally. 82% of these consumers are older than 16. As Newsy seeks to aggregate national and international news, it will target three segments of the market. These segments are represented as young urbanites, old news lovers, and educational institutions. The behavioral attributes of these segments coalesce to assert that large volumes of news are consumed digitally. Most people want flexibility, consistent, personalized experiences. This will, however, be tempered with their need to stay broadly informed. They are busy and will consume news on the go. I will now hand over some time to Dwanet.
Thanks, Nathan. Newsy has identified two key competitor groups that need to be accounted for: social media and traditional publishers. As of August 2017, two-thirds of Americans report that they get at least some of the news on social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. However, a recent change by Facebook is going to make it harder for publishers to reach their audiences via their platform. As social channels continue their meteoric rise, publishers face the balancing act of growing their branded sites while using their content to engage audiences on platforms that aren't theirs. However, there is still a sizable market which prefer news from traditional publishers, and here lies an opportunity for Newsy to define what it stands for. This creates an opportunity for Newsy to implement the Blue Ocean's four factors framework and capitalize on the opportunity left behind by Facebook. With Blue Ocean's framework, demand is created rather than fought over. There is ample opportunity of growth for Newsy that is both profitable and rapid. Facebook recently announced that they are making a series of improvements to news feeds to reduce stories that people frequently report as spams. By that means, Newsy eliminates the reliability and credibility issues that the social media platforms face. Users must see consuming content through Newsy as far cheaper and easier than purchasing the content they consume on an individual basis, thereby reducing costs. Newsy will help in raising the industry standard in the way how news are delivered, and users will be able to access content across all digital devices. It will create a platform that offers a personalized service which is user-friendly and tailor-cut to an individual's choice. Now I would like to hand it over to Julie. Thank you.
For Newsy to become commercially viable in a reasonable time, there are two key areas in which relationships need to be fostered. The first one is partner relationships. Key publishing partners will be offered one of two incentives to have them invest in the business. A revenue share model that attributes a set percentage of revenue to a publisher based on the amount of their content that is clicked on and viewed. B, ownership model, where a percentage of the company is available for publishers to invest in, therefore providing an incentive to provide not just financial resources but also intellectual property and talent. The second is customer relationships. The objective is to build loyalty by rewarding our early adopters. This will be done through A. Member-only events such as Q&A nights, fashion and sporting events, and B. Offering direct lines of feedback so that these early adopters can feed directly back to the business on what they would like to see, building a more emotional connection between the brand and its customers. The 3 channels selected for Newsy. 1. Digital. Buying advertising space on news sites, hopefully leveraging partner rates to keep costs down. 2. Out of home. Particularly on public transport to catch people while they are consuming news content. And 3. Sponsorships. Sponsoring events for students studying journalism to build out presence with a younger audience.
Thanks, Julie. Now it's time to cover off the solution and technical feasibility testing element of the project. Our initial discussions with stakeholders revealed 2 key areas of concern. The first being representation of publisher brands, and the second area being the user experience for users. The objective of this section of the project is to test to ensure that the feedback that we received has been met. How we intend to meet that feedback is to engage experts, namely a web developer and a digital news curator, to assess the feasibility of the project and what it is we're trying to do. Secondly, we'll develop a prototype working with the web developer and the news curator to develop a prototype that we can take to market. And finally, once we have a prototype, we'll test it. And we'll test it with the key audiences that we've identified, namely the publishing partners and the audiences. There will also be a feedback loop to allow any additional feedback that is made to be addressed further down the road. Next, we'll have a look at the financial element of the project. To help manage the financial pressures that may be placed on Newsy in its startup phase, a key strategic decision has been made to license content rather than create it. This content will be licensed from publishing partners such as Fairfax Media, News Corp Australia, and the Bauer Media Group. The objective of this key decision is to minimise the pressure on the business's cash flows. As can be seen from this chart showing Netflix's access to cash flows, creating content actually produces quite a bit of pressure on the money reserves of any publishing business. This is a situation that Newsy certainly wants to avoid in the initial stages of its existence. The financial forecasts for Newsy for the 12 months leading to January 21st, 2019 are as follows. We expect to have 750,000 subscribers, which is about 5% of the total digital news audience. Total monthly revenues from these subscribers should equal $7.5 million. A marketing budget has been established for $750,000 for the first 12 months to cover creative, media and production costs. Operating expenses, including wages, should equate to about $2.4 million. And revenue expenses, which is 50% of total revenue, will sit at about $3.4 million per month. All of this points towards Newsy becoming a very profitable business within the first 12 months of operations. In conclusion, Newsy should be a commercially viable operation. The total market is massive, and recent changes in the media landscape indicate that there is a gap in the market for this type of offer. However, our relationships with publishing partners need to be managed and watched very carefully, as without them it's very difficult to have an offer to take to market. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch our presentation, and please see the associated references for our presentation on the following slides. Reference slide 1. Reference slide 2.